August 7, 1943, 18:12 hours. Westward Ho, North Devon, wind slams across the beach. Waves smash against the shingle. A small group of Royal Navy officers stand in the cold surf, uniforms flapping, eyes locked on a massive wooden contraption sitting on the sand. Two giant wheels, each taller than a man. A steel drum at the center, cable-like tendons. Dozens of cordite rockets strapped around the rims. The Great Panjandrum. Joseph Needham, a young ordnance engineer, wipes sand from his face. You can feel the tension in his chest. His hands shake. He knows the machine in front of him is absurd. He also knows no one here will admit it. A lieutenant shouts for distance. Everyone moves back. The air smells of salt and cordite. The order is simple. Light the rockets. Watch the wheels spin. Watch the machine run straight up the beach. Then imagine it slamming into a fortified concrete wall on D-Day. That was the pitch. A rolling explosive that would smash through anything. A brutal idea born from desperation. Needham kneels beside the fuse line. He feels the heat from the torch. He touches the ignition wire. Rockets hiss. Sparks burst. Fire races around the circumference of each wheel. Then the noise hits. A violent screech, a roar that drowns the surf. Flames spit sideways as rockets fight to grab traction. The wheels jerk. The entire machine shudders. Then it moves forward across the sand. Fast. Faster than expected. Too fast to control. Officers cheer. Someone claps. The colonel shouts that the concept might actually work, but Needham sees what they do not. The left wheel pulls harder. The right lags. The Panjandrum veers. It digs into the shingle. The entire frame lurches. You can almost feel the sand tremble under its weight. The speed increases. The steering worsens. A rocket on the left wheel misfires. Another pops loose and flies into the surf. The wheel jerks violently. The Panjandrum skids sideways, arcs right, and plows toward the cluster of spectators who have no idea how fast this thing is now moving. Someone screams a warning. Officers dive. A photographer hits the ground, his camera smashing in the sand. The machine rockets past them, wobbling like a drunk giant. Rockets keep firing. Flames streak behind it. The Panjandrum slams into a dune, flips, and detonates in a blast of scattered cordite tubes and splintered timber. Smoke rolls down the beach. Silence follows. Needham stares at the wreckage. The officers dust themselves off, pretending they were never afraid. The colonel mutters that it only needs refinement. More rockets, better cables, extra stabilizers. He refuses to abandon the idea. No one challenges him. Needham knows the truth. The machine is uncontrollable, dangerous to its own men. A weapon that ignores commands. A weapon that does not stop for anyone. He turns toward the rising smoke. The beach smells like burnt propellant and wet timber. His instincts tell him this test was only the beginning of something worse. The next trial is already set. More witnesses, more brass, more pressure. And they still believe they can tame this thing. They cannot. The next test comes fast. No redesign. No real correction. Only more rockets and louder confidence from men who never stand close when the fuse burns. August 27, 1943. 16:40 hours. Same beach, stronger winds, higher stakes. A full crowd gathers behind the rope line. Naval officers, engineers, War Office observers. Even a few civilians who wandered close enough to sense excitement. They do not know what they are about to witness. They only see a towering pair of wheels and a steel drum that looks heavy enough to crush a truck. Joseph Needham stands near the firing crew. His boots sink into the damp sand. His chest feels tight. You can almost feel the sting of the wind against his face. He stares at the new version of the Panjandrum. It now carries more rockets, thicker cables, and a longer ignition sequence that scares even the men assigned to handle it. A commander strides across the beach. His voice carries over the wind. He promises results. He promises progress. He wants numbers that he can send back to London. He wants this weapon to look viable on paper. Needham listens. He knows the truth. More rockets will not fix steering. More power will not create control, but he stays quiet. Rank outranks logic. The ignition team crouches. Torches flare. The fuse lights, a chain of sparks moves around the wheels. And suddenly the beach fills with the violent howl of 20 rockets firing at once. The Panjandrum lunges forward. Sand explodes behind it. Flames pour from spinning wheels. The machine barrels toward the waterline with a speed that catches everyone off guard. Needham feels the shock in his chest. The power is enormous. Then it shifts left. Hard. The right wheel struggles. Several rockets misfire. One shoots out sideways and streaks across the beach like a miniature missile. A group of officers throw themselves behind a dune. A civilian sprints in the opposite direction. Panic ripples through the crowd. The Panjandrum keeps moving. Fast enough that no man could outrun it. Flames spit across the sand. Needham sees the frame twist. The cables creak. Another rocket pops loose and ricochets off the shingle. The machine veers right this time. Then left again. It weaves like an enraged animal. Rockets fall off the rim like burning debris. Every person on the beach now realizes the truth. This weapon does not obey. It does not track straight. It does not care who stands in front of it. A major shouts for people to take cover, but another rocket blasts free and whistles overhead before crashing into the surf. A group of engineers dive flat into the sand. The panjandrum hits a patch of wet stones. The wheels slip. The entire machine tilts. For a moment, it looks like it might topple. Then the left wheel catches grip again. The machine surges forward and aims itself directly at the observers.
Screams fill the wind. Men run. 2 officers collide and fall. A civilian jumps over the rope line and sprints toward the dunes. Needham feels his stomach drop. He watches the wheels spin with terrifying speed. The machine closes the distance. Then a final cluster of rockets burn out. The momentum dies. The panjandrum slows, wobbles, and collapses onto its side. Silence spreads across the beach, broken only by the hiss of dying rockets. Smoke rises from the frame. Wooden slats glow red from heat. Officers get to their feet with forced calm, brushing sand from their uniforms, pretending the fear never happened. The commander clenches his jaw. He does not accept failure. Not here, not in front of witnesses. He demands another test. More rockets. Better rigging. Stronger braces. He claims improvement is obvious. He claims the core concept is brilliant. Needham looks at him. He sees denial. He sees pride. He sees a man too far into the idea to step back. The beachmaster arrives. His face is pale. He wants the tests stopped. He says the machine is too dangerous. He says the beach cannot be risked again with civilians nearby. His voice shakes with anger. The commander ignores him. He orders another prototype. Larger, stronger, faster. He stares at the wrecked machine smoking on the sand. And he knows something else.
September 9, 1943, 15:22 hours. Westward ho, again. The sky is clear, the wind sharp, the beach is crowded. More officers, more advisors, more pressure. The War Office wants proof. The commanders want progress. Spectators want to show. The new panjandrum sits on the sand like a giant trapped in ropes. Larger wheels. Reinforced drum. More than 70 rockets strapped around the rims. The ignition wires look like veins. The machine looks heavier, louder, and far more unstable. Joseph Needham stands close enough to feel the heat from the sun-baked wood. He watches the engineers attach the final clamps. Everyone moves with stiff confidence. No one admits fear, but you can see it in their eyes. They all remember the last trial. The commander steps forward. He speaks with authority that feels practiced. He says today will decide if the weapon moves to advanced evaluation. He says the modifications will solve the control issues. He says the machine will run straight. Needham knows the truth. More power means more chaos. More rockets mean more chances for failure. More speed means no one can escape if the machine goes rogue. The ignition crew crouches. Torches flare. The first fuse line lights. A wave of sparks races around the left wheel. Another around the right. Flames erupt around the circumference. Rockets sharpen into a unified howl. The beach vibrates. The wheels jerk. The machine shudders. Then it bolts forward with terrifying acceleration. Sand blasts outward like shrapnel. The panjandrum gains speed so fast it outruns its own smoke. For 3 seconds, it runs perfectly straight. Officers begin to smile. Cameras click. The commander nods. Hope fills the air. Then, it happens. One rocket on the right wheel detonates prematurely. Splinters fly. The wheel loses balance. The panjandrum veers left. Another rocket breaks free and spirals across the beach. People dive for the ground. A second rocket shoots straight upward and vanishes into the sky. The machine speeds up. The left wheel grips harder. The right wheel slips. The panjandrum whips sideways, swinging its explosive-laden drum toward The spectators' panic erupts. Men shout. Someone falls. A captain grabs a young engineer and drags him out of the path. The Panjandrum surges like a runaway engine. Rockets fire in uneven bursts. Flames spit across the sand. The wheels hop over stones and carve trenches into the beach. You can almost feel the vibration through your feet. The machine turns sharply toward the dunes. A group of high-ranking officers scatter. One trips and rolls down the shingle. The machine misses him by inches. It keeps going. A cluster of rockets fall off the wheel and explode behind it. The backblast pushes the machine even faster. The entire frame shakes. The wheels blur. The cables strain to their limits. Needham freezes. His legs refuse to move. He watches the Panjandrum aim itself at the parked military truck behind the dune line. A truck loaded with fuel cans. The machine closes distance fast. Too fast for anyone to intervene. Then the final misfire hits. 3 rockets on the left wheel ignite at once. The wheel jerks inward. The entire machine lurches. The frame twists, the Panjandrum tips. It bounces sideways, hits a mound of wet sand, and flips end over end. A massive explosion throws sand into the air. Splinters rain down. The drum splits open. Rockets fire in random directions. To streak across the dunes and crash into the marsh. Another bursts against a rock. The beach falls silent except for the crackle of burning debris. The commander stands frozen. His face drains of color. His perfect confidence evaporates. The War Office observers whisper among themselves. A few look sick. Needham steps toward the wreckage. He sees the twisted metal, the burned wheels, the charred remains of what was supposed to be a breakthrough weapon. He feels a strange mix of relief and fear. Relief that the runaway machine finally stopped. Fear that the commanders will still demand another attempt. A single question hangs in the air. A question no one dares say aloud. What happens when the machine hits something that matters? The commander kneels beside the wreckage. He touches the cables. He nods slowly, refusing to admit defeat. He whispers to his aide. He wants a larger prototype. September 22, 1943. 14:05 hours. Westward Ho feels different today. The air is colder. The beach is crowded with more uniforms than sand. Staff cars line the dunes. Senior officers stand with arms crossed. Journalists wait behind a rope line. Everyone wants proof that the great Panjandrum can work. The new prototype sits like a monster carved from planks and steel. Taller wheels. A reinforced central drum packed with enough explosive to turn a bunker into dust. Nearly 100 rockets strapped tight around the rims. The entire machine leans forward as if waiting to break loose. Joseph Needham walks around it. He touches a cable. It vibrates from tension. He smells the cordite. He watches the wind push against the wheels. He knows the machine will fight every command the moment the sparks touch the fuse. The commander speaks again. His tone is sharp. He says the stabilizing cables will fix the steering. He says the new braces will stop the wobble. He says the increased rocket symmetry will produce a straight run. Needham does not argue. He knows the weight of expectations. He knows how badly the War Office wants innovation. He also knows the machine does not respect optimism. The ignition crew prepares. The torches hiss. The fuse lines shake in the wind. Several photographers step closer to capture the moment. A shout orders distance. The beach falls quiet. The fuse lights. Fire races around both wheels. Then a roar tears across the sand as dozens of rockets burst to life. The Panjandrum jolts forward with brutal force. Sand erupts behind it. Smoke clouds the air. The roar grows until the beach feels too small for the sound. For a moment, the machine runs straight. The wheels hammer the sand. The frame shakes. A line of officers nod. Journalists raise cameras. Then the left wheel loses 2 rockets at once. They fall off and explode near the surf. The wheel jerks. The machine veers hard. The right wheel catches wet stones and slips. The entire frame lurches sideways. The Panjandrum now charges toward the packed rope line. People panic. Voices break. Bodies scramble. A rocket shoots free and streaks toward the dunes, missing a staff car by inches. Another pops backward and explodes near the ignition crew. Men dive into the sand. The machine accelerates. You can almost feel the impact building. Its wheels throw rocks like bullets. The central drum shudders with enough explosive force to tear the beach apart. The commander shouts for someone to cut the stabilizing rope. An engineer sprints forward. He grabs the line. His knife slips. The rope snaps loose and whips across the sand. The force throws him backward. The Panjandrum now arcs sharply and heads toward the shoreline. It plows through a dune, bursts onto the wet sand, and races parallel to the surf. Rockets fail at random. Some sputter. Some explode. Some shoot out sideways and dive into the sea. The machine tips again. The left wheel rises off the sand. For a moment, it balances on one wheel while rockets still fire. It looks impossible. It looks unreal. Then gravity decides for it. The Panjandrum crashes down and rolls. The impact triggers a chain of explosions. Flames burst across the beach. Timber splinters fly. Rockets shoot into the sky like angry fireworks. Officers shield their faces. A photographer collapses behind a dune. The machine finally comes to rest as a pile of burning debris. The beach falls silent except for the crackle of fire and the hiss of dying rockets. Needham stands motionless. His breath shakes. He looks at the commander, waiting for the denial, waiting for the order to build again. The commander stares at the wreckage. His jaw tightens. His confidence breaks. He finally sees what the machine has been shouting since the first test. This weapon cannot be controlled. He does not speak for a long time. Then he turns away from the smoking heap and walks toward the dunes. His aide follows without a word. Needham knows what comes next. He knows the War Office will demand a final demonstration. They will want proof before they kill the project. They will bring the highest brass. They will want closure. One last test, and everyone senses it. The beach will not forgive another mistake. October 10, 1943. 13:30 hours. Westward Ho is silent. No crowds this time. No journalists. Only a small circle of officers, a handful of engineers, and the cold wind moving across the sand. The great Panjandrum stands rebuilt again, but stripped of pretense. Fewer rockets, lighter braces, a final configuration meant to answer one question. Can this weapon run straight even once? Joseph Needham stands beside the ignition crew. His face looks drawn. You can feel the weight behind his eyes. He knows this test exists only to bury the idea for good. Today is not about success. Today is about proof. The senior admiral arrives. His coat snaps in the wind. He walks the length of the machine. He says nothing. He only watches the wheels and the drum and the rocket mounts. His silence says everything. He gives a single nod. The order is given. Torches light. The fuse hisses. Fire crawls around both wheels. The first rockets ignite. The roar rises. The machine shudders. The sand trembles beneath everyone's boots. The Panjandrum moves slow, at first. Then faster. The wheels grab the sand. The frame leans forward. Smoke curls around the spokes. For 5 seconds, the run is clean, straight, steady, controlled. Then a stabilizing cable snaps. The sound cuts through the wind like a whip. The left wheel pulls harder. The machine turns. Another rocket drops off and explodes near the surf. The wheels grind across wet stones. The entire structure jolts sideways. The admiral steps back. His aides pull him farther from the path. No one wants to move too fast. No one wants to show fear. But everyone feels it. The Panjandrum begins to buck. The wheels lift off the sand in short jumps. The frame twists. The rockets fire unevenly. One cluster burns out early. Another overfires and throws the machine off balance. It turns toward the dune line. Every officer on the beach freezes. Needham's pulse jumps. He sees the angle. He sees the slope. He sees the outcome before anyone says a word. The machine heads straight for the observation point. The admiral's guard grabs his arm and pulls him away from the dune. 2 engineers fall to their knees. Another dives flat as the wheels scream across the sand. The Panjandrum hits the dune. The impact throws it into the air. The machine flips. Rockets detach and spin across the sky. The drum cracks open. Flames burst outward. A violent explosion sends smoke rolling across the beach. Debris rains down. Splintered wood, bent metal, burned cordite tubes. The air tastes of chemicals and dust. Silence follows. Not fear, not shock. Just silence. The admiral steps toward the wreckage. His coat is coated in sand. He looks at the smoking remains of the project that consumed months of work, countless hours of labor, and too much blind optimism. He gives a single order. Cancel the weapon. Shut the tests. End the development. He walks away without waiting for questions. Needham watches him go. He feels no victory. Only exhaustion. Only relief. He looks at the ruined machine, broken on the sand where it always belonged. The engineers gather their tools. The officers leave the beach. The wind covers the scorch marks. The sea rolls in, as if trying to erase the last evidence of the great Panjandrum. No one speaks about it again. But for the men who stood on this beach and watched a runaway weapon defy every command, the memory never leaves. You can still feel it in the quiet. A machine that never cared who built it. A machine that never obeyed. End.